Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council, the 6th day of June. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We need a motion to confirm the agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to add or change? We do have 2 or 3 items under new business, just 3 items under new business that we will add. So we have a motion that the agenda as prepared for June 6th meeting 2023 meeting of council of the Township of Perth East be received as be approved as amended. Not my night. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay. If you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. We have 18 items under our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like pulled or have questions on? Seeing nothing, we do have a motion that the items 5.1.1 to 5.1.18 as set out on the consent agenda for June 6, 2023, regular meeting of council be received for information, and the minutes of May 16, 2023, regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to move to delegations, and tonight we have Chris Dietrich with us from Dietrich Engineering. And Mr. Dietrich, the floor is yours.
Okay.
He's going to be speaking on the Stemler municipal drain, just so everyone knows.
Section 78 of the Drainage Act, which is to replace an existing municipal drain. Is there a plan or anything we can get up on a TV or, and if not, that's fine. Everybody who was invited to this meeting was given a copy of the report, so they should all have a copy of that plan too. So I'm just flipping to my plan and everybody has a plan. So basically, a little bit of history on this municipal drain is that the drain was originally constructed in 1958 by an engineer, James A. Howes, and it consisted of 1,760 meters of 250 millimeter to 125 millimeter diameter drain tile. And it commenced in Maryborough Drain number 2, which is in lot 7 of concession 13. It carried on underneath line 83 all the way over to the east side of road 129. The lower end of the drain was upgraded under a report by Johnson Engineering Consultants in 1994 and consisted of 450 and 400 millimeter diameter tile. It was only constructed from the outlet under line 83 and then ended at the property line between lots 8 and 9, concession 12. Our new tile will be installed to replace the existing 1958 tile, which is the yellow line on the plan. So basically from the outlet at station 0, it's going to be installed north of the existing drain to the road, and then we're going to cross under the drain and install it all the way to the same property line. The combination of the 2 drains basically has extended a combined drainage coefficient of 38 millimeters per 24 hours. The new tile drain will consist of 978 meters, 300 millimeter to 375 millimeter diameter tile, and HDPE pipes. The drain will be designed, as I said, north of the existing tile, and then south of the tile in concession 12. went over that already. The drain will also have 4 concrete catch basins installed. So there'll be one at the first property line at station 0+117, 2 at line 83, and then one at the very top end at station 0+978. The drainage area consists of 49.7 hectares, with some land in Lot 9, Concession 13, drained to the north to Stemler Number 3 municipal drain. We've estimated the total cost of this work to be $162,700, and it would be at this time that I'd like to take any questions from council or landowners.
Okay, any questions from members of council? Nope, no questions. You got off pretty easy.
Anyone from the public have questions?
Pardon?
Anyone from the public have questions?
Oh, is there anyone from the public that would have questions? Nope, okay. We do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the presentation from Chris Dietrich, Project Manager, Dietrich Engineering Limited, Stemler Number 1 Municipal Drain 2023, parts of Lots 8 to 10, Concession 12, and parts of Lots 7 to 10, Concession 13, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, Perth County for information, and at further that a quarter revision for the Stemler Number 1 Municipal 2023 be held on July 4th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Hugh, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Thanks and have a great night.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our public meetings. We have 2 public meetings this evening. I have a little blurb here to read out. I declare this public meeting to be open. This public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Wanda and David Albrecht, Concession 6, Part South, Part Lot 12, Mornington Ward. This meeting is an opportunity for the township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of an implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending this meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested by email following the meeting. All persons attending this meeting will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. I will now call on Planner Jeff Bannon to present the planning report and recommendations. Jeff, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warden Agatz. We have the presentation up on the screen. The subject lands are located on a 1.11 hectare property located on the west side of Road 124 between line 67 and Perth line 72. Next slide, please. It is the general intent of the official plan that existing lots of record be developed and used for farming uses and other uses permitted in the agricultural designation. The proposed location of the residential dwelling allows for the remaining lands to be farmed, and the farm parcel is of sufficient size to allow for the construction of a single detached dwelling that includes private services. On-site drainage is able to be accommodated on the property, and access is to be provided by Road 124. The property is designated as agricultural in the Perth County official plan. The official plan also includes minimum distance separation policies that require MDS 1, which is setbacks for new residential uses in proximity to neighboring livestock housing, and MDS 2 setbacks, which involve new livestock housing to neighboring residential uses for new development in the agricultural designation. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to construct a new residential dwelling. There are 3 barns that were included in the MDS1 calculations that were submitted by the applicant, and the existing lot of record is located outside of the setback requirements from the existing barns. The applicant is also proposing to construct a new farm barn, and the owner has noted that the farm building would shelter 2 cows, 1 chicken, and 1 horse. The calculations were prepared by the applicant for the neighboring livestock barns, and the location conforms to the MDS1 requirements, and municipal staff have reviewed the MDS2 requirements, and we have confirmed that the application also conforms to those requirements. Next slide, please. The applicant has submitted a zoning bylaw amendment to allow for a dwelling on the lot that is less than 15 hectares in size, and the requested zoning complies with the requirements in the official plan. The zoning bylaw requires that single detached dwellings associated with an agricultural use must be located on a minimum lot area of 33 hectares. And it also requires a minimum side yard setback of 30 meters for a building that contains livestock or structures that are accessory to that agricultural use. So the applicant is proposing the side yard setback to the south property line of 17.07 meters and to the north property line of 13.72 meters. Those proposed setbacks will still allow for a farm building to be constructed of a suitable size that allows for a functional farm operation while maintaining adequate land area to support a residential dwelling on that undersized lot. Notice of the public meeting was given in accordance with the Planning Act regulations on May 17th. No comments have been received at the time of preparation of this planning report, and we haven't received any comments since the planning report has been completed. The zoning bylaw amendment would allow for a residential dwelling and farm building to be constructed on an undersized parcel of land. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. It conforms with the County of Perth official plan, and in our opinion, it represents good planning. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Speaking against? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one, does the applicant or the applicant agent have any comments in respect to the application and draft zoning bylaw or the comments that have been made? Nope. Are there questions from members of council? No questions? Then council will consider a resolution regarding a planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the public meeting, bylaw number 204-2023, to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. You can stay there, Jeff, instead of bouncing back and forth. Okay, so our second public meeting tonight is, this public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting a property currently owned by Wendy Wagler, concession 4, east part of lot 24, Southeast Hope Ward 2338, line 29. And I'm not going to read the preamble again because it's the same as the last public meeting. We're going to jump right to the planner, and that's Pune, and she's on the screen with us tonight, so welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Eggets and council members. Good evening. I will share my screen with your permission. Are you able to see?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yes, tonight I'll be presenting to you the zoning bylaw amendment application for a property at 2338 line 29. The application was submitted by Andrew Phillips, Monteith Friedsma Phillips Professional Corporation, and the owner is Wendy Wagler. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application as a condition of consent, number B5122. This was endorsed by the Perth East Council on February of this year and has received conditional approval through the designated authority at the Land Division Committee. The applicant is proposing to sever a dwelling that is surplus to a farming operation, and this zoning bylaw amendment would apply to both the severed land, the residential parcel, and the retained land farm parcel. The property is located on the Southeast Hope Ward, and adjacent property uses are agricultural in nature. The subject property is designated agricultural in the Perth County Official Plan, and it's zoned A agricultural in the Perth East zoning bylaw. The proposed separate lot is to be rezoned A-1. It has a lot frontage of approximately 53.8 meters on Perth Line 29 and a lot area of approximately 0.39 hectare. The parcel contains an existing bungalow, septic system, well, row of trees to the westerly and southerly edges of the several lot. The proposed farm lot has a frontage of approximately 153 meters along line 29. It would have a lot area of 17.6 hectare and would include the existing metal clad shed and will remain as cropped farmland. As we know, the planning policies do not encourage subdivision of farmlands. However, the surplus farm dwelling applications are permitted given the criteria is met by the applicant. So now, in order to be able to, for both lots to conform to the applicable policies of the provincial policy statement and official plan, we're having this zoning bylaw amendment as a condition. The severed lot would conform to the applicable provisions of Section 6 of the Perth East zoning bylaw related to lot coverage and lot frontage and setback. The retained farm lot does not comply with the minimum lot area and minimum lot frontage requirements of the Perth East zoning bylaw. The minimum lot area requirement for agricultural is 33 hectare, and the minimum lot frontage requirement for agricultural uses is 200 meters. The proposed retained lot would have a lot area, as I mentioned, of 17.6 hectare and a lot frontage of 153. As a result, a special provision of 8-51 would recognize the undersized lot and the deficient frontage. It would also restrict the construction of a permanent residential dwelling on that lot. In terms of public and agency comments received, notice of the application and the public meeting was given in accordance with the Planning Act requirements on May 17th. I have not received any comments so far. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one, does the applicant or the applicant's agent have any comments in respect to the application and draft zoning bylaw or the comments that have been made? Seeing no one, are there any questions from members of council? Nope. Council will consider a resolution regarding the planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the public meeting, bylaw number 207-2023, to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. The public meetings are now concluded and we continue with regular meeting of council. So we do have two motions. First, for the first public meeting, and that the motion is the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14-Z04-2023-PE, submitted by David Albrecht, affecting lands described as Concession 6, Part South, Part Lot 12, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, for information. That council held a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment D14-Z04-2023-PE, and that council approved zoning bylaw amendment D14-Z04-2023-PE. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And the second public meeting, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14-Z07-2023-PE, submitted by Andrew Phillips, Monteith Ritzma Phillips Professional Corporation, on behalf of Wendy Darlene Wagler, affecting lands described as East Part Lot 24, Concession 4, Southeast Hope Ward, 2338, Line 29, Township of Perth East, for information, and that council held a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment D14-Z07-2023-PE, and that council approves zoning bylaw amendment D14-Z07-2023-PE. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Bob, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move to our public hearings, and we have 3 public hearings tonight. So I will read the preamble for that. Council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as Committee of Adjustment pursuant to Section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this public hearing open. This public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Reuben and Ruth Kipfer and described as Part Lot 5, Concession 9, East Mornington Ward. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purpose of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer at this time. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed by the applicant, the municipality, the minister, or prescribed utility providers with the Secretary Treasurer no later than June 26, 2023. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on Planner Jeff to present the planning report and recommendations. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The subject lands is located on 4708, line 76. It's located on the north side of line 76 between Perth Road 131 and Perth Road 136. It is approximately 40.8 hectares in size and has a frontage of approximately 304 meters. Next slide, please. The owner is proposing to construct a new permanent residential dwelling, and they have received approval for a reduced front yard setback and reduced minimum distance separation 1 requirements to the easterly, westerly, and southerly buildings from the Committee of Adjustment on June 21st of 2022. The applicant would like to move the location of the proposed dwelling by approximately 40 meters to the east to accommodate a 1.9 meter elevation change on the subject lands. The relocation of the new residence puts the house closer to the livestock housing located at 4688 line 76 and further from the livestock housing located at 4736 line 36. The owners have submitted this second minor variance application to request changes to the relief from the MDS requirement in the bylaw. A building permit was also issued on March 11th for an implement shed at 4736, line 76, and a building permit was issued on August 10th for a feed storage shed at 4688, line 76. Those new structures do not require any additional MDS calculations to be calculated from the subject lands, as both types of structures are exempt from those MDS requirements. The owner is proposing to reduce that minimum distance separation 1 from the livestock building at 4688, line 76, from 245 meters to 160 meters, and from the barns at 4731, line 76, from a requirement of 338 meters to 290.9 meters. And then relief is no longer being required from the barn at 4736, line 76. Next slide, please. The property is recognized by the official plan, County of Perth official plan, as agricultural and natural resource environment. The lands that are designated as natural resource environment are located at the northwest corner of the subject lands and are not impacted by the proposed development. The official plan states that in order to minimize land use incompatibilities in the agricultural designation, that the MDS separation requirements shall apply to all new development in the agricultural designation. Those requirements are to be set by the implementing zoning bylaws of the township in the County of Perth. The purpose of those MDS requirements are to minimize nuisance complaints associated with livestock and anaerobic digesters due to odor and thereby reduce potential land use conflicts. The official plan outlines review criteria for the Committee of Adjustment when considering an application for minor variance. Those include the 4 tests of minor variance, which are outlined in the report. It also includes considerations whether constraints and/or restrictions to meeting the requirements of the zoning bylaw due to physical or inherent conditions of the site are involved, and whether alternative designs of the proposal would be in conformity with the relevant zoning bylaw, where they are clearly not feasible or appropriate for the site. The proposed minor variance has not identified constraints that require the residential dwelling to be placed in the proposed location, and the applicant has not identified why an alternative design that is outside of those MDS1 calculations is not feasible or appropriate for the site. As a result, staff has the opinion that the minor variance does not meet the general intent of the official plan. The property is recognized by the County of Perth Official Plan as Agricultural and Natural Resource Environment, and it's zoned Agricultural Zone A106-T and Natural Resources Environment Zone NRE2. The NRE2 zone is located northwest corner of the subject lands, and again, it's not impacted by the development. The previous minor variance decision permitted a reduction in the requirements of MDS1 to 195 meters to the east, to 266.7 meters to the west, and to the south of 276 meters. The proposed change in location eliminates the need for a reduction in the MDS requirement to the one property at 4736, line 76. The applicant is requesting additional MDS requirement reductions to 160 meters to 4688, line 76. And to an MDS requirement of 290.9 meters to 4731, line 76. They've applied for those minor variants to meet to address the reductions in the Perth East zoning bylaw. The OMAFRA MDS publication 853 includes implementation guidelines for MDS regulations. Guideline 43 states that setback reductions should not be reduced except in limited site-specific circumstances that meet the intent of the document. Examples of those include circumstances that mitigate environmental or public health and safety impacts or avoid natural or human man-made hazards. The MDS setbacks include a further reduction from the previously approved setbacks from the Committee of Adjustment previous decision. And those reductions represent a significant 35% reduction from 4688 line 76 and a 15% reduction from 4761 line 76. There are other suitable locations to construct that new residential dwelling on the property that can conform to the MDS1 requirements. And as a result, the proposed minor variances do not meet the intention of that MDS document. The minor variances are not considered to be minor in nature for the subject lands. The owner has received a previous minor variance approval. The applicant has noted that the proposed new building location would allow for development of a residence that is at an elevation that is 1.9 meters lower than what was previously approved, and in location is 40 meters closer to a livestock building than what was previously approved. The intent of the MDS1 setbacks is to minimize those nuisance complaints associated with livestock and anaerobic digesters and to reduce potential land use conflicts. Since it's possible to locate that building outside of the MDS1 requirements and that there are no environmental, safety, or natural hazard applications outside of the MDS setbacks that would prevent them from locating that new residential dwelling in a suitable location on subject lands, we feel that the MDS1 setback being requested is not considered to be appropriate for the development of the subject lands. In our opinion, the application for the minor variance does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. It is not minor in nature or desirable for the use of the land, and as a result, the planning staff are recommending refusal of the application. These comments were provided in advance of the public meeting. We have not received any public comments to date, either prior to the formulation of the report or before tonight's meeting. And final slide, please. Property notice was posted on May 26th of 2023, and notice was sent to all landowners within 60 meters of the subject land on that same date. And again, no reports have been, or no comments have been received from the public. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Okay, would you come up to the desk, please, and please give us your name and your address?
Good evening, council and staff. My name is Michael Hall, 12 Jolene Court, Milverton, and I represent the firm that did a survey for Ruben, a topographic survey to see how the house would be situated on the lying lands. So I guess council had approved for Ruben to build, but it was a fairly tight footprint within the 3 MDS circles. And his builder, who's here tonight as well, went out to site and noticed that where it was proposed to be built was fairly low-lying area, and he was worried about flooding for the house and surrounding lands flooding down towards the house unless they built it way up. And as well, I think I was in talks with Pune, and I was under the impression she was going to support the application, and I think we only heard as of today, I just got a phone call today that it may not be supported. So I don't know if Pune is available to discuss this at all, but we were under the impression that it was going to be supported by the planners. So we did do a survey and a topographic survey with elevations to show that to move it 40 meters would have brought it up approximately 2 meters and help with the drainage. And yes, it would be closer to the 1 MDS, but it would be out of the 3rd circle. So I supported that with Ruben, and that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present, or does the applicant or the applicant's agent have any comments? No? Okay. Are there questions from committee members? Hugh?
Just one quick question. It's being moved further east, right?
Yes.
Through wording, yes, it is being moved 40 meters to the east is what they're proposing.
Okay, in Apodex B that you have there, it shows where the new house is located. The other black boxes on the screen there, is that where the other buildings have been built?
No, I believe those were dimensions on the drawing previous, just blacked out.
Oh, okay. So where the house is, where are the other buildings roughly?
Through Warden Agates, I can confirm that you can see them on the property. There's one to the right of the drawing. That's one of the buildings. One of the other buildings is on the left-hand side, which is the easterly building, and then to the south is at the very bottom extent. So they've provided, that's their MDS calculation map that they provided, and it shows the circles from each of those farm buildings, and it has dimensions on there, although it might be difficult to read it on the screen.
No, I just meant that they built 2 buildings there, did they not?
I was speaking to the buildings on the other properties, so they're not showing up on that
The
map.
MDS calculations.
Yeah, they were outside and they weren't included in the MDS calculation because they didn't need to be because of the type of use of those buildings. So they're not showing.
I was assuming that they had built something, so no, that's fine.
Okay, other questions, Amanda?
Just a question for Jeff, just wanting to get clarification on the comment regarding the application in terms of what's been communicated with the applicant in terms of the discrepancy. So just hoping to get that clarified because I think, for me, it's helpful to know that things have been communicated well in advance, and that if there's disputes, that they can be worked out before it gets to council, because I really hate to not support these types of applications. So I just hoping to get, not to put you on the hot seat, but if there's any, if you could provide some clarity, that would be certainly very helpful in terms of decision makings, whether there's a decision tonight, or if, you know, a councillor perhaps might want to ask for a deferral as an example. So just looking for some guidance on that.
Yeah, so we received the application. I'm sure there was discussions that took place with other planners before I was employed with the County of Perth, and prior to this application being made. In doing a review of the application, we came to the conclusion, and I have discussed this with other members in our planning staff, and we looked at those calculations and looked at the reductions that were being requested and decided that it's something that we wouldn't be comfortable with supporting. We didn't feel that it met those MDS guidelines and the requirements. So once we completed that report, that was sent off, and we did not contact the applicant to tell them what was in the report until that report was public information and before council had it. My understanding is that if we give out a report ahead of time, often councillors will get correspondence and calls from applicants on applications who wish to speak about their point of view and how they want to bend an ear to council. And I don't think it's fair of council to take those calls and field those calls without having the report in front of them. So as soon as the report was released, I called the applicant, advised them, I had to leave a voice message because they weren't in, and advised them of what was being written in the report, and invited them to reach out if they wanted to discuss it further. I do believe that the applicant did reach out and spoke to Pune today, even though it wasn't her application. I was in the office, and I know she did speak to him about the application and advised him on how he could conduct tonight's meeting and what would be expected of him in front of the meeting. I don't think that it would be fair to put Pune on the spot tonight to have her give a planning opinion on it. Not that she's unable to do that, but being that she didn't write the report, she hasn't done the complete analysis. And I wouldn't feel that it's fair to put her on the spot to do that, but I'm here to answer any other questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one other one. Thank you. Appreciate the explanation and the context. Is there a world in which, and I shouldn't put out hypotheticals, but I'm going to, is there a world in which if this hypothetically were to be deferred, that there could be a way forward to support the application? Like going back and talking to the applicant and finding a way forward. Is that a possibility? Like, I guess, I know there's been one other instance while I've been on council where we've done this and there was a resolution that was found, and then planning came back and was in a position to support the application. Obviously, there had to be some changes made, but just trying to get a sense so that I have a better idea for how I'm going to vote on this tonight.
Through the warden, you're more than welcome to defer the application. We can have further discussions. I don't feel like our planning opinion is going to change in this matter. The way that we looked at this on its own merits. It's a new application, and the old application, the old approval is still in effect. So if this application was denied, they are still able to build within the previous approval. We're not taking that right away from them. So they could build in the location that they have approval for. They're just going to have to deal with their grades and whether they have to regrade that portion of their property to make it work so that they're not experiencing any flooding on the property. They still have the ability to do that. So they're not losing that right. But we don't see another location within those MDS calculations where it's triangulated between those three farmhouse buildings, where it's a suitable location that we would be comfortable with supporting an application. So by all means, we're open to having those discussions, but I don't see our planning opinion changing, bringing this forward to another meeting, because we know that there's another location on the property that is suitable. Another suitable location that's outside of those MDS1 calculations.
Okay,
Just one
Amanda?
more really helpful context. Question for the applicant, just so I'm crystal clear. So the main reason for wanting this other location is there was an opinion of the concern with the flooding and the grading. Is that a fair assessment?
Correct. Yeah, obviously if you're higher, you won't get water in the cellar, all that stuff, right?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Jeremy?
I'm gonna move a motion. If no one else
Let's
has
have questions first.
questions.
I have a couple myself. So if we hypothetically agree to move the house, what happens with the other buildings? They stay quite a distance away from where the house, I have trouble, 40 meters we're talking about, right? Distance? How far is that, from here to the corner? To put it in perspective better for me, how far that, I'm just wondering, the other buildings that they want to build, are they going to be quite a ways then from this house? Like right now, it's going to be an envelope of buildings, is it not? Maybe the applicant,
Right now, my understanding is it's going to be the one dwelling. They don't have an envelope of buildings that they're proposing. They're looking at the residential structure at this time. So when I was speaking to other building permits that have been issued, those are for other properties. They're not on the subject lands, they're outside of it. We just wanted, because the MDS1 calculations were completed with the original minor variance application, we went back into our records to see if there was any other building permits that were issued that would change those MDS1 calculations, because we didn't want to be before council, find out that the MDS1 calculations weren't accurate, and then having to discuss them in person. We wanted to make sure that things were taken care of ahead of time. So that's why I just referenced them, so that you're aware that we have looked at those other buildings that were constructed.
sorry, my mistake, I misunderstood. Okay. So no more,
That 40 meters is about 130 feet.
okay,
Right.
all right. Okay, any more questions? If not, then Jeremy wishes to bring forward a motion, and what do I read the official here? The committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. Okay, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll move that we receive for information and that we approve the minor variance.
So usually when we recommend approval, we do add the extra clause that the owners obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval. Do you want to add that to your approval?
Okay, and do we have a seconder? Amanda? Okay, so the motion would read that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received the report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner, entitled Application for Minor Variance D13-A08-2023-PE, submitted by Reuben and Ruth Kipfer, affecting lands described as Part Lot 5, Concession 9 East, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, 4708, line 76, Newton, Ontario, Newton, for information, and that the committee approve minor variance D13-A08-2023-PE, and that the owners obtain the building permit within 2 years. That's moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions?
I'll speak to that if
Sure.
nobody else has anything. So we're in effect, like Mr. Hall said, we're moving outside of the MDS calculation for one property, moving further away on another, and we are moving closer on the third. No anybody showed up to contest this, and we are, yes, it's 35% closer, but I think we've probably worked within those boundaries in the past. So I don't think that we're out of our, out of our realm here to consider approval of this, given the situation that we're actually only impacting 2 properties, and one of those 2 that we're now impacting is actually further away.
Okay. Everyone clear as mud what we're voting on? We're voting on approval. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we'll move on to our next public hearing. This public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Bill Hunter and Della Springer and described as Plan 363, Part Lot 72, Milverton Ward. I'm not going to read all the preamble because I already did it in the last time, and I'm now going to call on Planner Jeff to present the planning report and recommendations. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The subject property is located at 57 Mill Street East. It's located on the south side of Mill Street East between St. Mary's Street and Cobalt Street South. It is approximately 836 square meters in size and has a frontage of approximately 18.3 meters. Next slide, please. The owner is proposing to construct a detached accessory structure. The Perth East zoning bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 5% for the accessory building. The owner is requesting relief from the Perth East zoning bylaw in order to build the proposed building with maximum lot coverage of 5.34%. Next slide, please. Property is recognized in the official plan as service urban areas within the settlement area for the County of Perth. It includes a variety of land uses in that area, and due to availability of full municipal servicing, more compact development is expected and encouraged to protect agricultural land, to encourage walkable communities, and to promote an efficient use of the municipal infrastructure. It's designated as residential in the Milverton official plan, which includes goals of accommodating a variety of residential dwelling types in the area. An objective is to promote the use of buildings and landscaping in order to permit the mixing of differing types of dwellings without detracting from the existing built-up area. The construction of the detached garage is intended to provide additional storage space for the residential dwelling. The new accessory building will support the continued mix of dwellings and structures in the area, and a request to increase the lot coverage of the structure will still allow for a building and property that is compatible with the surrounding residential neighborhood. It is zoned Milverton residential low-density R1 zone. The maximum lot coverage of 5% for accessory buildings is intended to, in part, to ensure that the dwellings remain secondary to the main dwelling and that proper grading and drainage can be controlled on the property. The minor variance to allow for an increased lot coverage is appropriate development within the low-density residential development area. The structure is set back sufficiently from lot lines to minimize impacts on the adjacent properties, and the requested lot coverage, increased lot coverage, will not have a negative impact on the neighboring lands. The applicant is able to meet all other zoning requirements, and the proposed development including the setback from all lot lines. The owner is still able to provide for an adequate amount of amenity space in the rear yard, and proper drainage can still be maintained with the proposed size of the structure. The minor variance is considered to be minor in nature. The owner is proposing to construct that new garage in the location that will meet the required setbacks. The structure will be partially screened by the existing vegetation to the east and from the street by the existing dwelling. The proposed size and location of the dwelling, accessory dwelling, will result in a structure that is in conformity with all other provisions of the zoning bylaw and allows for a consistent streetscape. The planning department is of opinion that minor variance is appropriate for the site. And just of note, 1.2 meter setbacks are required from both of those lot lines. The applicant is also proposing to move the garage to a distance of 4.5 meters from the interior side lot line instead of the noted 2.85 meters that's shown on the plan that was submitted with the application. Next slide, please. So I've just included a couple of site photos from the property. One is showing the subject lands facing to the south, which is the subject land, and then across the street, the lands facing to the north. Next slide, please. After the report was completed, we have received some comments from a couple of adjacent property owners. They've expressed some concerns with the development. One of those concerns was in relation to drainage. The drainage would be reviewed as part of the building permit process. Plans are typically reviewed to make sure that the development does not increase water flows to the adjacent properties as part of any building permit approval. There's a concern about the number of accessory dwellings on the site. The zoning bylaw exempts buildings that are under 10 square meters from being included in the maximum lot coverage calculations. And that maximum lot coverage for the property is a maximum of 40%. So they're still under that maximum requirement. They have also expressed concerns with the lot dimensions, and they felt that they were incorrect. We have reviewed the lot dimensions that have been provided by the applicant. We've reviewed those dimensions with Public Works and also with online MPAC records. Both of those sources have confirmed that the lot dimensions on the property are correct as what has been submitted, which is 18.3 meters, which is 60 feet of frontage, and 45.7 meters, which is a depth of 150 feet. They are also concerned with light, noise, and odor emissions. The zoning bylaw permits parking in the rear of residential properties, and the applicant is required to conform to the Perth East noise bylaw. That proposed development is similar to other properties where garages exist and they're permitted in the rear of the property. For access, the required parking spaces for the property are located in the garage at the driveway at the front of the property. There is no size requirement to provide access to the rear of the property other than the owner is not allowed to trespass onto the neighboring property. The applicant is advised that they have 2.49 meters to the side of their property, and the largest vehicle that they're using to be stored at the rear of the property in the proposed garage has a width of 1.9 meters, which is 6.25 feet. So in our opinion, the application for minor variance conforms with official plan policies and maintains the general intent and the purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The variance is minor and desirable for the use of the land, and as a result, approval of the variance is being recommended by planning. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Okay, if you would come up to the desk, please, and state your name and your address.
Camp Council. My name is Kelly Hargrave. I live at 55 Mill Street East to the west of the applicant, and I have some concerns. And bear with me, I don't like public speaking. As I said, I have, been a resident or a property owner of my building for 20 years. I have many concerns and comments regarding the application for this minor variance and what it would look like if it was granted, or what it would lead to if it was granted. First, I have a question as to how the accessory building area was calculated on the application by the Perth East planner, Jeff. I was directed to the bylaw 3.38, which he just stated, that the lot coverage means the area of a lot covered by building and structures, excluding the overhang structures which do not project more than 1 meter from the main walls, decks which are 0.61 meters or less above the average grade, accessory buildings which are less than 10 meters squared, and excluding uncovered swimming pools. By this bylaw, a property owner could put as many as they want, 10 by 10 sheds in their backyard, nothing stopping them. So I had to confirm with Jeff if that was correct, because it's kind of blowing my mind that there's no restriction as to how many. It's kind of, you get the feeling of tent city in the backyard. This will be their third accessory building. So my question that I would appreciate council taking the time to review is section 5.1.3, which is titled Location and Size Accessory of Buildings and Structures. This bylaw states that an accessory building and structure shall not cover more than 5% of the lot area. The area of an open swimming pool which is not enclosed by a building or structure shall not be included in the calculation of lot coverage. This does not state that an accessory building less than 10 meters square shall not be included in the calculation of lot coverage, but it does state about the swimming pools. So I scroll down 2 paragraphs to come across section 5.3. Conflicting regulations states where the application of the provisions of this bylaw result is a conflict between the provisions and/or requirements of the bylaw or any other bylaw of the corporation, the most restrictive provision and/or requirement shall apply. I ask the council to please take the time to review this bylaw, as from what I just read from section 513, one can interpret that the 2 existing accessory buildings already on the applicant's property should be included in the calculation of existing lot coverage, which would increase the proposed minor variance, excuse me, in the application. I also have a concern as to how the property owners are going to access the proposed new building, as they have stated that they will be using this new proposed building as a garage for 2 of their, I'll refer to them as muscle cars, but they're 2 really nice cars. I recently had a survey done on my property. The results of the survey showed roughly 8 feet of property between the applicant's main building and the property line. My answer from the township when I asked, and Jeff said tonight, that there was no bylaw to a minimum width of a driveway. I couldn't believe that was even a bylaw or a thing either. So again, digging more into it, reading under 517.2, ingress and egress, it states to parking spaces, the ingress and egress to parking spaces required by this bylaw shall be provided by a sufficient number of unobstructed driveways or passageways. Each driveway or passageway shall have a minimum width of at least 3 meters and not greater than 10 meters. 3 meters is 9.84252 feet. They have roughly 8 feet. Furthermore, also looking up and talking to real estate, a driveway allowed down my property line between our 2 homes butts up to my existing patio on the east side of my building. This would impact in a negative way the value of my home. I don't want that, and I believe no one else here would appreciate that either on their own property. Furthermore, to the concern of the access to the proposed new building, I have asked to see a site plan showing grading of the proposed new building, which would also include the drainage of a new driveway. But as Jeff said, it was not required until the permit stage, which I understand and respect. But I am unable, but should it also not be my right as a neighboring property owner to know all the information? Only having all the information can one properly make comments or concerns that they may have regarding this meeting. The applicants are already infracted of bylaw 517.4B, parking area location to the front of their house. They do not park 1 meter away from our property line. Trying to do the neighborly thing, last Friday, I did confront them about this. But apparently they did not care, as a township-owned truck has yet to move over the required distance of 1 meter when parked. From these actions, you can only see how I am extremely concerned about this new construction. They have not only chosen to not follow or respect my request as per this bylaw, but this parking space has now crawled onto my property. As per Perthes R-Zone policy, which stands for respect and responsibility, an incident under this policy can be classified as a contravention of municipal bylaws, policies, or procedures. We are all held accountable to this policy. I would like to think that a Perthes employee should show and want to be a strong representative of these policies in our community. They would not want to daily display a township vehicle in violation of a bylaw. If this minor variance is granted for construction of new accessory building, what are my rights regard to noise and lights, as Jeff had mentioned? Noise in respect to these loud muscle cars accessing the rear yard, driving along bedroom windows. These concerns aren't only for me currently, but for future homeowners of our properties. These loud muscle cars hanging out in their backyards, where I always thought a backyard was a place for friends and family to gather, entertain, have a game of catch. If approved, would we not be taking us away from our neighbors, as we would have to listen to these muscle cars, which are loud? Last Monday, May 29th, I emailed and asked more questions regarding this meeting. Unfortunately, in regards to the noise bylaws, I only received the noise bylaw last night via email at 9:59 p.m., and I have not had time to properly review it. Vehicles also have headlights. With the proposed new building, headlights would be glaring in all neighboring properties. The property owners do not have a fence to stop this from ever happening. I ask, what are my rights regarding headlights glaring into my home? Unfortunately, you don't not see many neighbors here today, but I know and have confirmed they're watching online. And I don't blame them for not being here. The purpose of having these public meetings, I thought, were to openly project our comments, concerns, and ask questions, and feel safe doing so. But apparently in our neighborhood, that is not the case. Having any questions, comments, or concerns has only proven to put an X on your back as the next victim to an angry neighbor looking for something to call you and your property out. As I mentioned, I've been a property owner in my property for 20 years. All my neighbors, way plus that. They have longtime neighbors that were afraid to come tonight. I started reaching out to the township office last Monday, May 29th, via email, as per the posting. After not getting a response, I reached out again on the Wednesday, May 31st. After not getting a response again, I reached out to the township clerk, Ashley, on Friday, June 2nd, and within 30 minutes I had a response, so thank you, Ashley. I do ask council why it is so difficult to get answers from the Township of Perth East leading up to tonight's meeting. 5 complete business days to get any acknowledgement back. I ask the council as to why, when other neighbors called, came into the township office, they were treated with disrespect. They were told to, quote, just ask Bill, he's a nice guy. Or, why do you want to know? Do you have concerns about council meeting? How is this acceptable? We all just want answers to facts so we can come to our own conclusion or of concerns and comments leading into tonight's meeting. Can one only assume favoritism was given to the applicant due to the place of employment? Is the township could not differentiate between Buddy Bill in the office and applicants Bill Hunter and Della Springer? Or am I led to believe that this is how all residents in Perth East are treated when they require answers or documents from the Township of Perth East? I ask you, council, to gracefully and fairly consider all that I spoke of tonight. Please review the facts. I just want answers to the facts and the bylaws that I read out. Please help me and my neighbors get answers before a decision is made. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support? Oh, I'm sorry. You would like to speak in opposition? Okay, if you would come up to the table, please. You'd state your name, please, and your address.
My name is Jackie Gray and I live at 63 Mill Street.
Jeff, could you maybe put the microphone a little closer to her, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Gray and I live at 63 Mill Street East. Is there a bylaw that forbids the owner to install a door at the back of his garage that would allow access through the garage to the back of his property?
I don't believe there's a bylaw, but maybe, I hate to put Wes on the spot, but maybe he can help us out here with that.
Sorry, I was reading something. What was the question?
She's asking if there's a bylaw or something against putting a door in the back of the garage. They could go through their garage, right?
No. Through your mayor, no, there is no bylaw against doing that.
Well, this could be a possibility, I think. And by doing this, I think it would not cause a problem with a neighbor or any neighbors. This is more about than property. It's a matter of injustice when someone gets above the law. And I think all people should be treated equally, no matter what position you hold. It shows lack of responsibility and respect when we do not treat others as equals. And I've lived in Melbourne for 61 years, and I've had many neighbors, and I loved all of them. We got along fine. Sometimes if they had a problem, they came and asked us, and we discussed it when my husband was living. And we never had any problems. And I feel sad tonight. to think there's a problem.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Does the applicant or the applicant's agent have any comments with respect to the application?
Thanks, Mayor.
Can
Thanks,
you move the
Mayor.
microphone?
Yep, I will
Thank
do
you.
that. Thanks, Mayor Agates and members of the committee. I put some comments together here for you. Give you a little bit of background on the project. The proposed garage, as Jeff has said, is that okay? Sound-wise? Okay. Proposed garage will be used to store my 2 cars, my motorcycle, and my toolboxes. This garage will eliminate the need for us to pay for winter storage. Currently, my older car has been stored off-site for the past 20 months. This will put both of them under one roof. However, they are only driven between April and October, and obviously only one at a time. The new garage will allow us to park my wife's car inside our attached garage year-round, which currently we're not doing right now because the one of my cars is inside the garage. This will improve the curb appeal of our dwelling to our neighbors as well. Some information on our existing sheds. We have a 10 by 10 garden shed. My wife's going to turn that into a she shed for her gardening and hobbies. And it will also provide winter storage for our outdoor furniture, which we currently store in our dwelling basement. We have a smaller 6-foot by 7-foot shed that my motorcycle's currently in, and that's going to be used to store snow blower, lawnmower, and yard maintenance tools. Both of our sheds were professionally built from solid wood, and they've got colors to match the house. As far as the new garage, we specifically sized the new garage to the smallest possible footprint to keep our minor variance requests to the absolute minimum. We included the revised use of our existing sheds into our consideration when we were designing the garage. Our proposed garage location respects the rear and side yard lot lines. Side yard setback is actually further back. Planner Bannon did allude to that it's actually further back than what I initially proposed and what the bylaw requires. The garage is less than 12 feet tall, which is well under the allowable height. With concerns for neighbors' privacy, we did not purposely put any windows on the west side or the rear wall of the garage, and that would also reduce any nuisance lighting to the 2 closest neighbors. Once again, with colors, the garage is designed to augment the current color scheme that we're using at our home. The garage will be equipped with eaves troughs and downspouts so that stormwater doesn't travel to our neighbor's property. And finally, as my wife and I approach our retirement years, we want to set our home up here in Milverton so that we'll be able to enjoy our hobbies in our leisure time. We own the 2 cars, vintage motorcycle, somewhat like its owner. And we have 2 pugs, and we're just looking forward to spending time with all of them. The garage has been a dream of ours for several years, and it's kind of the last piece of the puzzle to put in our backyard together. We've put considerable time and money into this garage and our property to create an outdoor, enjoyable living space. We feel we've created a plan that will respect our neighbors and their property while allowing us to enjoy ours. And I'll gladly answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from committee members? Andrew?
No, thank you, Mayor Agates. I appreciate it. I'm familiar with this a little bit because it happens in various things. Just a question was brought up about the sheds. Are they from planning? Are they calculated? Are they in the calculation for the lot coverage?
Through the mayor, no, they're not, because they're not required to be. So there's an exemption in the zoning bylaw that any accessory structure that's less than 10 square meters in size is not included in the lot calculation. So they haven't been included.
And a second question, if I may, please. So specifically, just maybe for people listening right now, to be clear, this exercise is about moving past 5% lot, accessory building lot coverage. Is that basically the basic of it, right?
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct. So the minor variance is to increase the maximum lot coverage of that accessory dwelling from 5% to 5.36, I think is what the number was. 5.34.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, other questions? Jerry?
Not necessarily a question. It's in regards to Ms. Hargrave's comments when she presented in regards to entering our building and the comments she received from staff, or I'm hoping that our CAO will take those under advisement, and perhaps if there's any type of investigation or to follow up with that. Ms. Hargrave stated what had happened, and I guess she can't speak for everyone. The neighbors, I guess, if they wanted to come and speak for themselves, they could attend. But I find it kind of hard to believe that our staff would, treat our public, our citizens that way. So I trust that our CAO will look into any type of occurrence that has happened with interaction with our citizens.
Okay, any other questions? Bob?
I think with any application, it's a little bit confusing for the public, but with all due respect to Mrs. Gray and Kelly Hargrave, this application is, of course, for someone's residence in Perth East, but it goes through the Perth County Planning Department. So technically, I wouldn't expect anyone in the office here who is not a planner, and planners are employed by Perth County, to really have a lot of knowledge, much like us councillors here. We provide on their expertise, and this script is through the province and through the county and through our zoning bylaws. So a lot of the information that we get has to be, I guess, included in the reports, and without, I guess, any other variance to the percentages that are requested, this wouldn't even have to come here, right? If the applicant had been less than the 0.34, he wouldn't have to be here tonight. I think there's a little, maybe Jeff, you can help me out, but there's a little confusion with people covering their lot with buildings, but there is a maximum allowable of 40% on a residential lot, and I highly doubt this comes anywhere near that specific coverage. It is a little concerning about maybe the driveway, so I would like to hear an explanation about the driveway going past the property line. But otherwise, I do appreciate that there are questions, but I think it's always an issue that people don't know where to go, or they'll say, well, I contacted someone, but I didn't hear anything. But in this specific example, you have to go to the Perth County Planning Department. That is where you have to go. If someone doesn't get an answer from the Perth County Planning Department, then that is a concern for sure. But there's been a lot of changeover at the county, and I guess there always will be, but it is a process that we're following here, I hope.
Okay.
Answer the question about the driveway?
Yeah, through the mayor. So there's a couple of issues, I think, with the driveway that were raised. One is the minimum width of a driveway being 3 meters. So the requirement in the zoning bylaw is that for any required parking space, you have to have a minimum width of 3 meters to that parking spot. Okay, so the required parking spaces on this property are in the garage at the front of the property and in front of that garage. So those are the required spaces. There's no requirement for a minimum width of 3 meters to an accessory building, whether it's a garage or whatever the case may be. It could be for storage at the rear of the property, because the requirement is for the required parking spaces. So that's the one part of the question that was raised. And then I believe that there was also a concern with having a 1 meter setback from the driveway from the edge of the property line. So there is a zoning bylaw requirement that if you have a parking space in that driveway, it has to be set back 1 meter from the lot line. So if you're parking in that area, then you're not meeting the zoning bylaw requirement. So if there was a complaint received by bylaw, they could go out, investigate, find out if it's a situation that was illegally established prior to the zoning bylaw being in place, or if it's a new infraction, and then deal with that portion of that infraction if there is one.
Amanda?
2 questions, and I'm getting into the weeds a little bit. So the one of the comments was concerns regarding the lights. And I just want to get clarification. I know it's for some buildings, you'll have like a light outside of the building that kind of, if like it's censored, where like they detect motion, then it will flash. To be clear, like the light would be just, there's no plan for a light. And I guess you couldn't really control if we gave approval, whether that was installed or not after the fact. So I just wanted to get clarification if the light concern was really just when the cars are driving in and out, or if it's just in general, like those lights that you can put on the edge of your home or whatever that detect motion. And then the other question is, I think there was also a comment regarding a fence and how there's no fence. And if, again, I'm putting out a hypothetical, which again, I really love hypotheticals, but I understand why they're problematic. But if hypothetically, if there were a fence, if that would mitigate some of the concerns from the neighbors, and if there would be room for a fence, if this were to be hypothetically approved. So again, I'm putting out hypotheticals, but I just really want to make sure I get all of those things clarified.
Through the mayor, so there's a couple of questions. So in relation to the fence, yes, a fence would stop some of that headlight glare, and I think that is the main concern that's being raised by the public about having headlight glare going to the back of the property and affecting the adjacent property owners. The zoning bylaw does allow for parking in the rear of the property. So if you don't have a garage at the front of your property and you want to have a laneway going to the rear of the property and have your parking space at the rear, there's nothing to prevent that from happening in any other residential situation within the town. So in some cases, you would almost promote to put some of that parking at the back of the property as a planning principle, because you don't want to have garages that are overwhelming on a parcel of land where all you see is the garage instead of the dwelling. As a plan principle, sometimes you would put that at the back, and it's kind of accepted that that's a great location in some cases to put parking spaces. I did go through some of the bylaws to see if there's any other controls with lights. There are controls in commercial areas and how those lights affect neighbors, especially affecting residential neighbors. But I did not see anything in a residential neighborhood of how lights are being controlled. And I know that the CBO is probably well versed in bylaws relating to lights, and we had a discussion, but I'm not aware of any other light situation.
Okay, other questions? I have one. So between the house and this, there is a fence there. I drove by the other day, right? Is there enough room to get the cars in there? Pretty tight? No? 67.
That's what.
Bill
did mention that, I think, what?
Yeah, there's approximately a little bit more than a foot, or about a foot on each side. There's about 8 feet, 2 inches of space. The widest car is just over 6 feet wide, so that would give you a foot on each side. So, yeah, I could quite easily get both cars through without going on anybody else's property. I also could answer Councillor Broadhagen's questions about the lights. If that's appropriate.
Sure.
Okay. My thought on the light is a light pack similar to what we put on even the fire stations, where the lighting is shot down and not out. So the intent is that the light illuminates the space in front of where the car is driving when I pull into the garage, but it wouldn't create like a light pollution, and I think that's probably consistent with a lot of the building permit processes. And as far as both cars, the old car especially has a headlight switch, so I can turn the whole light system off on it. The newer car, I can also dim the headlights off on it manually.
Okay, other questions? Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but have we answered all of Mrs. Hargrave's concerns?
I don't believe so. I'm sorry, am I allowed to speak?
Well, not really, but I just want to make sure that we've answered, you brought up a lot of concerns and questions, and I just want to make sure that we've answered all of them before we move on. So which one don't you think we answered?
Sorry, yeah, just the first point I made out about how the 10%, oh, sorry, let me find it.
But I don't, you need to come to the microphone, please. Right now, you can build a shed, anything under 10 by 10, you do not need a permit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just put on a shed that was under 10 by 10. Yeah, no, it's about how, excuse me, how under the 10 by 10 are not included in the lot coverage for the percentage of variance allowed. So as per the section 3.38, which you told me, that it does explain that it's not allowed. But when I went to section 5.3, it states when there is conflicting regulations that it does go to the most restrictive provision, which would be 5.1.3.5, where it does not state they are not excluded from the lot coverage. I had them printed if you need to see the actual.
Wes, do you have the answer to that?
Yes, I do. So as per the Ontario Building Code, actually the size is larger now. It's 15 square meters. It's 160 square feet. It doesn't even register on the chart as being a building. We wouldn't even consider it in the building code. So section 3.78 states that those types of buildings are excluded from lot coverage.
So I guess that would be why. We're sorry, we're not going to get into debate. I just.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're not included now, because the building code says they're not to be.
So as just a citizen reading this, I just am able now to just dismiss the conflicting regulations under the bylaw 5, where it does state that it does not state anything that they are included. That's just what I want the answer on. Like, this is the bylaw, now I'm just to dismiss it because of the other one that states it is, even though it does say we go with the most restrictive provision. That's where it's just fuzzy, and I'm not a lawyer. You almost need to be a lawyer to read through these bylaws.
Who's going to help me? Wes?
Yeah, so we would go with section 3.78.
Dismiss the one that's.
Yes, we would exclude the buildings from the lot coverage.
Okay, so you include the one where it says that if there's a conflict. Okay, that really, sure, okay.
Okay, we're going to move on. The committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. And the motion we have is that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received a report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner, entitled Application for Minor Variance D13-A09-2023-PE, submitted by Bill Hunter and Della Springer, affecting lands described as Part Lot 72, Plan 363, Milverton Ward, Township of Perth East, 57 Mill Street East, for information, and that the committee approve minor variance D13-A09-2023-PE affecting lands as described above with the following condition. Number 1, that the owners obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval of the minor variance. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Bob, second by Jeremy. Any more comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move to our third public hearing. This public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by 2046680 Ontario, Jim Flynn, and described as Plan 363, Lot 53, RP 44R 4953, Part 1, Milverton Ward, 9A Maple Street, Unit 1, and 9A Maple Street, Unit 2. And the preamble is the same. We're going to jump right down to Pune, and she's here with us again. So Pune, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yes, so this will be for minor variance application for property on 9A Maple Street, Unit 1 and Unit 2, Township of Perth East. This was submitted by, the owner is James Flynn, and it was submitted by Nathan Holman. And the subject property is located, where I mentioned it is approximately 640 square meters in size and has a lot frontage of approximately 15 meters along Maple Street. So Section 13.2.2 of the Perth zoning bylaw permits a minimum lot frontage of 18 meters for a semi-detached dwelling on an interior lot. The owner is requesting relief from the section of the zoning bylaw in order to build the proposed semi-detached dwelling with a lot frontage of 15 meters. So 15 meters instead of 18 meters for lot frontage. The owner received approval for 2 variances last year on the same property. On their application A01-2022, the request was to seek relief from the minimum lot area requirement and a reduced minimum interior side yard setback. The site is recognized by the Milverton official plan as central commercial through the OPA official plan amendment number 10. A residential dwelling is permitted on that site. The property is zoned residential medium density or R2 in the Township of Perth East zoning bylaw, and the proposed semi-detached dwelling is a permitted use under Section 13.22. So now I'm going to go through the 4 tests of the minor variance as per the Planning Act outlines. The first one is, does it maintain the general intent and the purpose of the official plan? As I mentioned earlier, it does meet the intent since residential use is permitted as per OPA 10 under this central commercial designation. Second one is, does it maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The property is zoned R2, which allows for a semi-detached residential dwelling. The reduced lot frontage is appropriate within medium density development, and the requested decrease in lot frontage will not have a negative impact on the development. The third test is the proposed variance minor in nature. The decrease is requesting decrease in the minimum lot frontage from 18 meters to 15 meters is considered to be minor in nature for this site. It is meeting all the other zoning requirements for the development, including parking, setback from the lot lines. And so the proposed variance is considered to be minor in nature. The fourth test is that, is it appropriate for the site? The owner is proposing a dwelling that will be of similar size with similar setback as other properties within the neighborhood. The development will be consistent with the neighboring dwellings, and it will be constructed with conformity with all the other provisions of the zoning bylaw, which allows for a consistent streetscape. The application for minor variance conforms with the OP policies and maintains the general intent and purpose of both the official plan and the zoning bylaw. And the minor variance is considered to be minor in nature and also desirable for the use of land. As for the notice of public hearing, the notice of public hearing was provided in accordance with this section 45 of the Planning Act, and it was posted on May 5th. So far, I have not received any comments. This would conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one, does the applicant or the applicant's agent have any comments with respect to the application? No? Okay. Are there any questions from committee members? Hugh?
Yeah, this will be the third variance on this property. Giving a variance now on something that's half built, that's kind of the horses has already left the barn and you're closing the door. And I don't understand why this was not done at the very beginning, because there's obviously, it's too undersized for the size of the building going on it. So I don't understand like why that one wasn't done with the other two. But just a comment.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. The committee will now consider a motion regarding the application, and the motion we have is the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received a report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner entitled Application for Minor Variance D13-A10-2023-PE, submitted by Nathan Hallman on behalf of 204-6680 Ontario Inc., James Flynn, affecting lands described as Plan 363, Lot 53, Reg. Plan 44R-4953, Part 1, Milverton Ward, 9A, Maple Street, Unit 1, and 9A, 9A, Maple Street, Unit 2, Township of Perth East for information. The committee approved minor variance D13-A10-2023-PE affecting lands as described above with the following condition, that the owners obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval of the minor variance. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I declare this public hearing closed. Okay, now we're going to move on to planning. We have Perth County Official Plan Amendment for Alice and Todd Steinman, and I believe Pune is going to do that, right? No? Yep. Yep. Oh, she's still there. I had you hidden, I couldn't see you. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. With your permission, I will share my screen once again. Thank you. All right. Okay. So yes, this would be for the official plan amendment application 217 for lands at 3424 Road 108A in the Township of Perth East. The owners are Alice and Todd Steinman. The subject lands are designated primary or secondary aggregate resource, natural resource environment, and agriculture as per the Perth County official plan. And part of the farm is within the natural hazards area, regulated by the Upper Thames River Conservation Area. However, the residence that we'll be discussing tonight is not within the CA regulated lands. The purpose of the application is to change the designation of a portion of the property where the residence cluster is from primary or secondary aggregate resource to agriculture, in order to consider consent applications for surplus residential farm dwelling that is approximately 0.85 hectare in size. The subject property has an area of 41.2 hectare. The land is this land subject to the OPA 217 is as I mentioned, is a residential lot. And the owners operate another active farm operation with a house in Perth County and the residents on the subject land would be surplus to their farming needs. We also have received, the Perth County Planning Department has received a consent application related to that. The primary and secondary aggregate resource designation aims to identify areas with the potential gravel and sand deposits, and it restricts development that could impede the extraction of those resources. As the surplus farm dwelling application is permitted within the agricultural designation, a change of designation from aggregate resource to agriculture is necessary prior to considering the consent application to sever the surplus farm residents. The aggregate impact assessment was prepared by Robert Gibson Consulting Services, and that's based on the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry's aggregate resource inventory paper 175 mapping, which was released in 2013. And it was concluded that the subject lands does not contain a sufficient quantity of good quality aggregate to warrant a commercial license pit, and the evaluation came as sand and gravel deposit tertiary significance. Now, the Perth County official plan defines mineral aggregate resource as only primary and secondary deposits identified by the Ministry of Natural Resources. So tertiary deposits are not included as part of the definition. Now, the removal of, as I mentioned, as the aggregate deposit is a tertiary deposit, the removal of the primary and secondary aggregate designation from the proposed SFD lot and designating it agricultural is considered appropriate. An application, also, as I mentioned, for consent application has been received, which will be discussed at a later date. Once the agricultural designation on the several land is established, the review of that consent application will dive deeper into the criteria of this section of the official plan. Now, the official plan amendment 217 aligns with the objectives of the applicable official plan policies concerning the agricultural designation and aggregate resources. The proposed severed land will be exclusively designated for agricultural use, while the retained land will continue to be designated as aggregate resources, allowing for agricultural activities to take place. There will be no site alteration proposed on the natural resource environment or aggregate designation. The file was considered to be complete on April 25th. A notice of application was circulated on May 1st. A notice of public meeting was circulated on June 16th. It will be circulated on June 16th for a public meeting to be held for the scheduled meeting of Perth County Council on July 6th. Now, the planning staff believes this official plan amendment application meets the requirements and is aligned with the policies of the Perth County and also the Perth zoning bylaw, as well as the provincial policy statement. As for the public comments, I received comments from Perth County Public Works and also Perth East Public Works Department, and they have confirmed that they support the application and the subsequent applications related to this. This would conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the reports? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the planner, entitled Perth County Official Plan Amendment Number 217 by Alice and Todd Steinman, affecting lands described as Lot 26, Concession 6, 3424 Road 108, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, for information, and the Township of Perth East Council endorse the official amendment 217 to the County of Perth official plan. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. Any more comments or questions? Jeremy?
I feel like this is updated wording again. Do we usually endorse something, or do we recommend approval? I feel like it changes from time to time, and we're not really made aware of it until we get it. And not that it's a big deal, except that it's just another change to the wording that we are usually having in our council packages. So we're endorsing it, which I guess means recommending approval, but it's a change from what we do normally, I believe.
Is that Can you help us out here?
Okay, this would be, I believe that, so because this is a county official plan amendment, that's why the wording says endorsing, because ultimately it is up to the Perth County to decide on it.
So we're not giving approval, we're giving a recommendation.
Yes.
That's why it says endorse. We're recommending, I guess maybe if you want to change, we would say that Township of Perth East recommends.
No, it's fine for
Yeah.
me, except that I think in the past it always says recommend approval instead of endorse. And if we're going to change it, that's fine, except it's just a change in the wording is all. That's fine.
Okay, as long as it means the same?
It means the same to me, but
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks.
I only bring that up, I'm sorry, because we had the item that came back a few months ago where we were suggesting that we hold a public meeting. And that was a change in our procedures as well.
Yeah.
Where we decided to hold a public meeting or that we would recommend to hold a public meeting or something like that. So it's just a small change in our workflow.
No, that's fair. Okay. Thanks, Vinay. Have a good night. Okay, we're moving on to 8.1.2, Perth County comments on proposed provincial policy statement, Environmental Registry of Ontario. So at the county, we have seen this twice. It did come back on the 1st of June, and because the government has changed and extended the deadline now to August the 6th, County Council sent it back and asked for it to come back on the 6th of July. The only thing that really came up with the council, we talked, Sally changed the wording a bit on MZOs, and I think everything else pretty much stayed the same, but the official letter that she's wishing to send will come back on the 6th of July for council to look at. So if there's comments that Perth East wishes to make, now's the time to do them. We can send them in, they'll consider them as well, or we can actually put in our own letter if people feel strongly enough that we can do our own thing. And it's always strength in numbers if you do it together, but if we feel that there's something that's not here and we want it to be there, we can do our own letter. So, Amanda?
Just questions and points of clarification. So just regarding I think there was a comment about farmland severances. So that the province announced last week that they are not proceeding with that.
Correct.
So as long as our letter is updated to reflect that change, that should happen. And also for awareness, Bill 97 passed yesterday. And it's on its way to royal assent. So I guess just if the ERO is still open for public comment, that's fine. I don't know if we have someone following the legislative process, but just wanted to flag that for folks, that it did pass royal assent. Bill 97 passed yesterday. So I know that sometimes the public comment period is extended to address the concerns of the public, which I know was a major thing in the agriculture community, but I am just flagging that in terms of context, in terms of the what we're putting together. So again, that's something for staff to take back and look into, but just flagging those couple things.
No, that's good to know. Thank you. The original comment period was to June 5th, so I guess it makes sense. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add about the letter or the severances?
I don't think so. There were similar type comments in the consent agenda from other municipalities around some of the same key items. The one comment as it relates to the severance piece, we've heard that is going to be changed. I have not seen that in writing. Maybe that was disclosed as well today.
Yeah, the minister announced that last week.
I heard the announcement, but I have not seen any amendment to the actual bill.
Yeah, we haven't.
That's
So
my
the
comment around that.
bill, so we would have to go back in the legislative, what do you call it? Not minutes. I'm blanking on the exact terminology, but it would be included in, should be found on the Ontario Legislative Assembly website. That exact update. So
I guess we were looking for something official. Like, that question's been asked many times by lots of staff and local politicians that we didn't get anything in writing. Yeah, it was in the news, and yes, we believe it, but we didn't actually get anything in writing. That's what we were
yeah, I
looking for.
think my understanding is that there was a minister's statement that was issued, and some of the other stuff might be coming later, but it's that particular amendment was pulled back from what that decided they weren't moving forward. So I know OFA has publicly commented on that, and so I don't know if they have the exact wording, but also our local MPP should have it because he's also the PA to Municipal Affairs and Housing. So I think there's a couple avenues there.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a big problem with number 6, settlement area expansion, removal of the whatever the comprehensive reviews for a couple of reasons. Biggest one is that's around here, it's going to be on farmland. The last couple of conferences, I'm not alone. I'm going to say there's hundreds, if not thousands, of councillors across Ontario who are not on board with this or adding extra houses to residential farm lots, which apparently has been considered. Yeah, so I would like to see, it's a pretty important thing to, the county spends all the money, the Watson reports come out, it's said how much inventory we need and have. So I guess you could save a whole bunch of money by not doing that, and we just do whatever we want, but there needs to be rules for this stuff, and it needs to be consistent. It needs to be consistent over decades, not just every 2 years change direction. So that's not criticizing the provincial government. I have a lot of respect for what they've done in difficult situations, but this is rural Ontario, and it should remain rural Ontario. I think the settlement area expansion, without a comprehensive review, is out of place, and that should be challenged.
Okay, anyone else? So we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receives the Perth County comments on proposed provincial policy statement Environmental Registry of Ontario 019-6813 report for information. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we don't have any reports from the CAO, so now we're moving to the clerk, and the first one is the Perth County Connect Community Transit Bus. Ashley?
Okay, thanks, Mayor Rigetts. This is just an extension agreement for the bus stop that is currently in Shakespeare on Route 2. It was brought to our attention that it expired, the agreement technically on March 31st, 2023, where the other agreements that we have in Milverton, Newton, Gads Hill, they renew automatically, where this one was set up not to renew automatically. So we're just looking to renew that until March 31st, 2025, which is currently when the funding for the PC Connect bus is set to expire. So I have talked to members of the Shakespeare Optimus Hall, and they don't have any opposition with the bus stop. They haven't received any complaints from anyone there. And they do receive, or there is a few people that get picked up at the bus there monthly anyway. So there's no cost currently to Perth East. This is funded through the Stratford St. Mary's North Perth portion of the PC Connect funding, that second portion that they had got. And yeah, there's no expense to Perth East. And I can answer any questions or try to anyway, if anyone has any.
Okay, any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receives the report entitled Perth County Connect Community Transit Bus Stop Agreement, CLE-2023-03, dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the Municipal Clerk for information, and further that Council approve giving 3 readings to Bylaw 25-2023, being a bylaw to enter into a bus stop access extension agreement with the City of Stratford for a stop within Shakespeare at the Shakespeare Optimus Hall. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and their second one is request for repair and improvement, section 78, and I believe that's Eric. Floor is yours.
Thank you.
So yeah, staff received another Section 78 petition from Adriana Danon for the Wilker Municipal Drain, which is lots 26 and 27, Concession 3, Southeast Hope Ward. On the map, you can see it has 3 branches. They are requesting improvement to all 3 of those branches that flow southerly towards the Wilhelm Municipal Drain. So we will circulate it with the Conservation Authority and then look to appoint an engineer on July 18th. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
Okay, are there any questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. Will the Shakespeare, if this is this Section 78 request, will the Shakespeare block be affected by this?
Thank you. That would be at the time of writing the report. If Shakespeare is, I don't believe they're in the watershed for this municipal drain, so I don't think it would affect them. But if they were, council could request the engineer to include a block assessment on the report.
Or possibly remove a block assessment?
Or not, yeah, they could request to not use a block assessment.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion that council of the Township of Perth East receives a request for repair and improvement, Section 78 of the Drainage Act, by property owner Adriana Danon for the Wilker Municipal Drain, lots 26 and 27, Concession 3, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, for information, and further that in accordance with Section 78 in brackets 2 of the Drainage Act, the appointment of an engineer will be considered at the July 18, 2023 regular meeting of council, subsequent to the notice advising of the proposed drainage works being sent to the Secretary Treasurer of the Conservation Authority that has jurisdiction over the lands in the affected area. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, then we're going to finance. We have the tax sale registration. Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Agates. Before council tonight is the annual tax sale registration report, and this is for properties that have tax arrears for 3 years. And we started the process this year in March of 2023 with 9 properties that we notified, and 7 of those properties have paid the required amount and avoided registration of a tax arrear certificate on their property. So that's good news. There's 2 properties remaining, and those will be sent this month to Real Tax to initiate the tax sale process for the 2023. And just for council's information, there's 1 property that remains from our 2021 tax sale process who has an extension agreement and are currently making payments for that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, any questions? If not, we have a motion that the council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Tax Sale Registration, FIN-2023-15, prepared by the treasurer dated June 6, 2023, for information. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to move to Public Works, and the first one is the 2023 drinking water quality. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Agates. Yeah, this report here in front of you covers all things water. Our team met anybody that's involved with the water system and discussed various topics. To briefly summarize, couple of the things we went through internally, we've updated our O&M manual from start to finish, rewritten all of the procedures within that. A couple of things to note. We have gone through a third-party audit, which is required. There were a couple of opportunities for improvement, but no non-conformances through that process. An internal audit was also completed. We've had one of our staff actually trained to be able to do those audits himself, so his first time around went quite well. A couple of opportunities again for improvement, but nothing out of line. As it relates to water quality, we did not have any non-compliance issues, but we did have a couple of regulatory incidents. One being we had a total coliform exceedance in Shakespeare, and the other was what they call an N-dog-N exceedance, which is no data total coliform plate overgrowth with non-target bacteria, which is quite a mouthful. But that actually led to a boil water advisory, as you know. That in communication with the health unit, I think our staff dealt with the best we could. An unfortunate timing with Easter, but we have closed those two items, and yeah, I think that is all that I have for this report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, any questions, Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering about the coliform and the Shakespeare thing. Is there any way, typically, whether it's this or anywhere in Ontario, is there any way to tell whether it's equipment related or source water related?
Yeah, unfortunately not, Councillor McAlpine. There's so many possibilities. It's impossible to trace back the cause. If you ask my staff, they say it's the lab. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah,
but we feel it was a contamination issue. When you've got treated water, raw water coming in the door that has no bacteria in it, and mysteriously goes out the door after chlorination with bacteria, we find that to be a bit interesting. So our feeling is that it was whether it was a bottle contamination or a lab error, we don't know, but it can't officially be proven in either way.
No, thank you for that. There's a lot of moving parts on that. It was bad timing, even just the temperature raising and the sample can do that. So just wondered if there was a way to figure that out, but thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated June 6, 2023, entitled 2023 Drinking Water Quality Management Standard Management Review, PUB 2023-12, prepared by the Operations Coordinator for information, and further that Council receive the attached 2023 Management Review meeting minutes and the Township of Perth East Drinking Water Systems Operational Plan dated June 24, 2022 for information. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. The next one is the 2023 Maintenance Gravel Program. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thank you again, Mayor Eggetts. This report covers our tender results for our maintenance gravel, which would involve the crushing and application of the maintenance gravel. We put it out through bids and tenders, as we often do each year. This year we had two bids submitted, and both were well over budget, to our surprise. The lower of the two budgets, or bids rather, came in, I believe, just under $112,000 over budget. So we did run some numbers on it, and comparing apples to apples, the way things work here, we alternate two areas for our maintenance gravel. So basically you're getting new gravel applied every other year. So the best way to compare the numbers was to look at 2021, where it was applied to the same roads. And we saw a 60% increase in cost to us over a 2-year period, which in our opinion, certainly is higher than a lot of other goods and services out there. So we feel there was perhaps a bit of price gouging on the behalf of the bidders. So we would recommend that at this point, council not award the tender, and we would look to have council provide us the ability to procure these assets, these services through negotiated procurement. In our procurement policy, there is an ability to waive the tender process, and that would be when an instance where the tender has come in well over budget, and that is exactly what's happened here. Staff have had some preliminary conversations with other contractors out there, and we feel we can get this to be within our budget, if not very close. And at this point, I think that is the only way to maintain our level of service going forward this year. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to try and answer those.
Okay, questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have two questions. So is it a shortage of gravel? I understand that the new pit on Quinlan Road is no longer or very close to being out of gravel. Is that maybe affecting the?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I feel for sure there is an ever increasing cost of gravel. Being pits are becoming depleted and harder to come by. But 60% is far outweighing that market condition, I believe.
Yeah, no, thank you. And the second question is how does it, for you guys in Public Works deciding, what to pave next? I know that traffic counts and all that are important, but will this price of gravel affect that? Yeah, will you factor that in, or?
It certainly is a factor. I don't want to say for sure it's going to change the way we approach it, but there's different things we consider, obviously traffic being one of them, but it has to be a consideration going forward with these prices we see. So I think you'll see that maybe play in a bit more to our decision-making process than prior. But again, the price of asphalt has also gone up considerably, so there's that to combat the other side. So.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled 2023 Maintenance Gravel Program, PW-2023-02, PUW 2023-13, dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the Operations Coordinator and Manager of Public Works and Parks for information. And further, that council not select a successful bidder for contract PW-2023-02-2023 maintenance gravel, crush and apply, as the two bidders were significantly over budget. And further, that council authorize the Manager of Public Works and Parks to procure the services required for the 2023 Maintenance Gravel Program through negotiated procurement in accordance with Bylaw 60-2016, being the Perth East procurement policy. It's a tongue twister. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one is line 37, pavement preservation. Jake?
Thanks, Marigot's. This one here, through our capital budget program, we budgeted for preventative maintenance or pavement preservation rather on line 37, and that would be for the full extent of that section of roadway. This is a material that we've used quite often in historically here at Perth East. We've had good success with it. In the report, I have noted line 40 is a road we've used this on and extended the life of our road by 12 years, which not to say every road's the same, but we have had good success with it. And being line 37 has its 2 lifts of asphalt already. It's still in good condition, but we're starting to see some cracking. So it's ideal timing to try and maintain the life of that as long as possible. Now, FiberMat is the product we're looking to apply, and Walker Construction is the only supplier of that product in Ontario, hence asking council for, again, the negotiated procurement in this case. So if there are any questions, again, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, questions of the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receives a report entitled Line 37 Pavement Preservation PUB-2023-14 dated June 6, 2023, prepared by the Operations Coordinator and Manager of Public Works and Parks for information. And further, that Council authorize the Manager of Public Works and Parks to procure the asphalt preservation services for Line 37 through negotiated procurement in accordance with Bylaw 60-2016 being the Perth East procurement policy. And further, that Council award the pavement preservation for Line 37 to Walker Construction Limited for the quoted price of $385,516.40 excluding HST. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. And the last report in Public Works is tender results for the supply of a sidewalk machine. Jake?
Thanks, Mayor. This is simply tender results for our sidewalk machine to replace our current unit, which is becoming quite tired. We did put this one out for tender. We got 2 submissions, one of which has the ability to use our current attachments that we own. We own several attachments that have each their own value to us, and those are still usable assets. So the way we wanted to write this up was we wanted to be able to use those attachments going forward with the new unit. The second submission, we could not use those attachments. So we really only had one submission that was a fit for us, and conveniently the price of the other unit actually came in well above this one, so it was an easy choice for us. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Okay, any questions for Jake? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receives a report dated June 6, 2023, entitled Tender Results PW-2023-04 Supply of Sidewalk Machine PUB-2023-15, prepared by the Operations Coordinator and Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that further that Council award the tender PW-2023-04 for the supply of one sidewalk machine to Work Equipment Limited for the tendered price of $167,140 exclusive of HST. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no reports from building, no reports from recreation and community services, no reports from fire, and no correspondence. So we're going to move to county and committee reports. And my meeting log is there where I was for the month of May. Is there any questions what I did, where I was? Nope. How about council reports? Does anyone have a report they want to bring, Jerry?
Just a couple things from the county. It wasn't at the last meeting, but the meeting before. The OPA 199, the Bell Farms, that was approved. And then the Bateman OPA 213, the council received those comments. So those are the only two from county 2 meetings ago. I'm not sure what took place last week, but sure. Mayor will help us.
I don't think there was anything starting at the last meeting, was there?
No, one pretty close.
Yeah. Okay, any other council reports? Amanda?
The Perth East Twinning Committee, there's a flyer out on social, and we're looking for folks that will bill it, some of our guests from Germany. So if that is something of interest to you, I think the Milverton Facebook group has a flyer out there. So we are looking for quite a few spots to host folks, and more to come on the festivities that are going to take place this fall. But just wanted to flag that opportunity for anyone who might be interested in hosting a German guest. We are looking for people to host.
Okay, anything else? No, then a motion to receive the meeting log and the verbal reports. Moved by Hugh, second by Bob. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we're to bylaws. We have 6 bylaws for the first and second readings. So the first one is 11.1.1, and that's bylaw 24-2023, and that's to authorize the signing of an agreement with PC Connect Transit Bus Stop in Shakespeare. Bylaw 25-2023, and that's to reduce the rate of speed in Peppers, and amended bylaw 55-2003. Bylaw 108-2023, to provide for the amendment of the Signer Municipal Drain 2021 and for the collection of the amended assessments. Bylaw 109-2023, a provisional bylaw to provide for a drainage works known as Stemler Number 1 Municipal Drain 2023. Bylaw 204-2023, a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, and that's for Part Lot 12, Concession 6, Part South, Mornington Ward. And the last one is bylaw 207-2023, a bylaw to amend bylaw 30-1999, and that was for the east part of Lot 24, Concession 4, Southeast Hope Ward, 2338, line 29. And these are first and second reading. Someone move that. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. And then we have bylaws for the third and final reading. We have bylaw 24-2023, a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement for the PC Connect Transit Bus in Shakespeare. That was 11.1.1 tonight. Bylaw 25-23, a bylaw to reduce the rate of speed in Peppers and amend bylaw 55-2023. The third one is 108-2023, to provide for the amendment of the Signer Municipal Drain 2021 and the collection of the amended assessments. The fourth one is 204-2023, a bylaw to amend 30-1999, Part Lot 12, Concession 6, Part South, Mornington Ward. And the fifth one is bylaw 207, and that's a bylaw to amend 30-1999, that's the east part of Lot 24, Concession 4, Southeast Hope Ward, 2338, line 29. We need a mover and a seconder for third and final reading. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do not have a need for a closed session. Do we have any notice of motions? Okay, then new business. At the start, I said we were going to add 3 things to new business. The first one is our road tour, and it got postponed. We were supposed to have that on the 13th of May, and it was postponed from that morning. And so we're just wondering, does council still wish to do it? And if so, we're wondering about having it on August the 1st. Instead of having a council meeting that night, we would have a road tour. We're already scheduled to have a meeting, so we did this at county council too. Instead of having county council, we got on the bus and away we went. And so we would start, I don't know, what time do you want to start? Do you want to be?
August when?
August 1st. There is a council meeting scheduled that evening. So I don't know if you want to leave like 3:30 in the afternoon. I don't know how that works with everybody's work schedule. And then we might be back by 6, or I don't know how we feed all of us quickly that we don't stop too long to eat. I'm open for suggestions.
As I was thinking was we would cancel the council meeting and just have the
Yeah.
road tour.
Yeah, we cancel the council meeting, we just have the road tour. What time do you want to start? What time can everybody be ready to start?
What, approximately how long would we be on the tour? About 3 hours?
Depends on when we start. We're not, we won't be able to see much in the dark, but I would say 3 hours.
No, well, no, then 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 6. That should.
We could bring snacks, muffins, and something, as long as you're not messy on the bus, and eat that while we're touring. What's a road tour without something to eat? Jeez. I can't say the other things.
We're not going to go buy animes. We're not going to buy animes.
I don't know. I don't even know where we're going. Maybe I do know, and I've lost that in my head lately. But so what time could everyone be here to start? Like if we start at 4, we're done probably 7:30. We can start at 3. We are done at 6, 6:30.
What about
You
like
tell me what works with your schedules.
3:30? What about 3:30?
I can't hear you.
3:30?
3:30? Everybody be here for 3:30?
Sure.
Okay, so 3:30 on Tuesday, August the 1st, and we will have our road tour. Okay, thank you. Don't forget, tomorrow is parliamentary procedure at the Perk here, and I believe it starts at 9 a.m. So hopefully we can see everyone there. And I think the third thing, Hugh wants to bring something up.
I've got a call, and I believe Andrew's got a call too. People that were in the fire service, when they retire out of the fire service, I don't think they're covered by any kind of post Perth East mental illness and that type of things. And I was just wondering if HR could have a look at that, like what our policy is and things like that. And if we don't provide anything for post employment, if they could just put something together on where people could go to get help.
Okay, so you'd like staff to bring in a report back on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. You want to move that? Andrew will second that. All in favor? Carried. Okay, announcements. I have Shakespeare Parade and their fish fry is this Saturday. What time's the parade, guys? 12? 12:30 in the parking lot? Okay, I can't find that on the website anywhere, or on Facebook anywhere.
I did pick up a sheet of paper today where it listed everything when it happens, and I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll have a look. But anyway, on the parade on Saturday, if anyone wants to come, I will take the convertible. Hopefully it's not raining, but mind you, I'd love rain too. So if it rains, great. But anybody wishes to come, they're quite welcome. Any other announcements? There is a fish fry. Are those tickets still available? And yep, okay. And a 50/50 draw, I believe, as well.
A lot of stuff this year. They're having the regular auction inside the building. I think they're having an auction too at night. Big fireworks display as usual. Hopefully they get a bit of rain so that can actually happen, but it's a pretty impressive do, so yeah.
It's great.
Don't forget breakfast.
Oh, breakfast too. There you go. It's a full day. You can eat out all day. Whew. That's my kind of day.
Parade starts at 1. Parade's at 1. Yeah, parade's at 1.
Oh, parade's at 1? Okay. Perfect. Okay, is there anything else? If not, we have a motion that the bylaw 26-2023, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on June 6, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Hugh, second by Bob, all in favor, carried. And we're going to adjourn at 9:26. Moved by Hugh, second by Jeremy, all in favor, carried. Thanks, everyone.